Whoa! Hey, everybody! Welcome. We're here, crossing some streams, ladies and gentlemen. It's exciting. We got a great show for you today. Action packed. We got a guest, Cal. Cal's here. Cal's going to take us through the theme song, as we always do. Cal.
Okay. All right.
Take it away, sir.
Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
Dude, you nailed that. You nailed it.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff and Ron and Sal and Bob. And there's me. They call it Crossing Streams.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we crossed the streams.
We crossed the streams.
We crossed the streams.
That's the way we do it.
Yeah, we crossed the streams.
Now that was harmonizing. That's the best harmonizing since Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Really, that was amazing.
That was good. Hey, and if Cal says it, it's true because he's an expert on it.
I am a karaoke fanatic. Yes.
Zach,
he sang it good, man.
Yeah, Zach is on his way, hopefully, but that's all right. We have a special guest with us. You heard his voice in the theme song. It was an angel. Cal Verducci, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, tell everyone all about you.
Cal Verducci. I've been doing comedy for, I would say 27 years, but really 26 because I don't count the pandemic year.
Fair.
I literally didn't do any comedy that year, but
oh
wait, we did Zoom shows, so obviously we were still doing comedy. Yeah. Has anyone really been like, oh, I can't wait to do this Zoom show?
I did one. I hated it. I never did another one.
Yeah, no, I did. I remember when I did one and it was fun. And then I did a second one and I was like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah,
exactly.
Zoom shows are great. That's why if you need to pay the bills, that's why we use StreamYard. This is different. I'm talking doing stand up on Zoom. Oh, I know.
Yeah, this is meant for this.
Whatever. Yeah.
Did you guys see the? I think it was a Netflix comedy special. A bunch of the Comedy Cellar comedians, Rich Voss and Bobby Kelly, and a bunch of others did a special. They did in New York in a parking lot. Or I think it was, and they were like in the backs of pickup trucks and stuff like that. It was really funny. It was Colin Quinn. It was Colin Quinn's special, is what it was. Yeah,
I'm sure
it was pretty amazing to watch these really good comics just biting it purely because of the environment.
Well, yeah, how do you even hear the audience? That was the one thing. That was the thing about doing those Zoom shows. It's like you couldn't hear people laughing.
No, sometimes they had the audio on like one person, so you'd hear one person.
Yeah, it was so weird. Or other times you'd just be performing for comics, so it's like just doing a bad open mic, really.
It'd be like this. What's up with the guy that invented the Tic Tac? He made a mint. Hey, that is a Sal D'Amelio classic.
Yeah,
that is a Sal D'Amelio classic.
Sal looks like Zombie from the Pee Wee Herman show right now.
What's up, Jason Taylor? Hello, Lee. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome everybody to Crossing the Streams. We got an amazing show for you today. I'd say one of the best ones ever in the history. What we do here at Crossing the Streams is we talk about movies and TV shows that you should be streaming. We are, you probably already know this, the #1 show in over 27,000 countries, cities, and provinces.
Ooh, it's amazing.
Across the world.
And growing.
Yeah. There's 80,000 provinces, so we still got a ways to go. But because each and every one of you tell all your friends every week, we're growing like gangbusters. So thank you for that. If this is episode 31, our episode 30, our 30th episode, what is that? Is there a word for the 30th? I don't know. But we had Louder Milk, Ice Road, which I'm not sure. I think Sal felt about like how Liam Neeson's face looks in that picture.
Yeah.
Phenomenon and Physical. Great episode. Check that out. Everything's on YouTube. Search the Jeff Dwoskin Show. We got 30 hours of stuff for you to watch. Everyone's always saying, what did I watch on TV? Watch this show, you'll find out. Today we're covering great stuff. Kim's Convenience, Good on Paper, In Treatment, and Flatbush Misdemeanors. Lots of great stuff coming up. But we did want to pay homage to the late great Richard Donner. So many amazing movies he's done. This isn't even a scratching of the surface there. The Lethal Weapon.
I didn't even realize how many great ones he did. I mean, like until I actually looked at his IMDb, I was like, oh wow, he directed that. I didn't even realize it. There's so many great movies.
What was he in Superman? I'm not remembering that.
He's the director.
He's the director, yeah.
All those. He directed all those.
He with Ron. This is all the brilliance Ron brings to the show. This is where he falls down. This is no.
Wait, does that mean you know who Richard Donner was in Goonies?
I didn't know who he was in Goonies.
He was the kid that did this.
Now, did he ever do was he ever one of those directors who did cameos? Because I'm not aware of it. If that did happen,
but he was way before Zack Snyder had his Snyder cut. There was the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2,
which I watched last night. Yeah,
Richard Donner was famously fired by the Salkinds after. Probably like towards the end of and then into Superman 2. It was the first movies they were filming back to back, and they had another director.
And that plus they didn't want to pay Marlon Brando for the footage of Marlon Brando, because of course Marlon Brando is expensive, so they cut like almost all of the Marlon Brando footage out of it, and that was a big part of it too. Right. And there's tons of Marlon Brando footage in the Richard Donner cut.
So if I may read a little of his filmography, just from a pure movie standpoint, The Omen, Superman,
is amazing.
Superman 2, The Toy with Richard Pryor, hidden gem, Lady Hawk, which was a good film.
Lady Hawk is really underrated too, actually.
It is. Lethal Weapon, Scrooge, which is a hysterical film. Lethal Weapon 2, Radio Flyer, which was a good movie. Lethal Weapon 3. What else? Maverick, which wasn't a good movie. Conspiracy Theory.
I like Maverick.
Lethal Weapon 4.
Scrooge says my favorite.
Honestly, Maverick was probably his last decent movie, though, because after that it was just kind of.
Yeah, he did 16 Blocks was his last film with.
I don't think anybody saw that.
I did.
Scrooge has my favorite line of any movie ever. Could we stop the goddamn hammering? When he's trying to do the thing and Bill Murray and they keep hammering the set. So funny. So
speaking of directors that have passed, another famous director passed today, as a matter of fact. Director of such films as Balls Bluff, Touch of Greatness, and Sweet Smell of Sex. You might know him as Mr. Robert Downey Sr. That gentleman just passed.
Wow.
Yeah. Unprolific director, Robert Downey Sr.
He made a lot of cult classics. It was funny. Actually, it was funny because just yesterday, coincidentally, I was at a party and somebody, my cousin's father-in-law, was talking about out of nowhere just Robert Downey Sr. and one of the movies that he had done and all that kind of stuff. Wow. So if you want to hear some great stories about Richard Donner, check out my podcast, live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show. I interviewed Jack O'Halloran, who was the big broody Kryptonian. He talks a lot about Richard Donner. He was a huge fan. And then I also talked to Scott Schwartz, who was the little boy from The Toy and Flick from Christmas Story. And he talks a lot about Richard
Donner. Didn't that dude end up doing porn? The kid from The Toy?
He might have managed something. I don't know if he literally did it himself.
The
that was called The Toy as well. Thank
Hey,
you. I used to just walk out.
Hey, look, it's Mark Rifkin's here. What's up, Mark?
It's funny. Like The Toy was such a funny movie as a
What's up, buddy?
kid, but you watch it now in these times, I could see where it might be a bit controversial. It's a little bit.
Buying a black man at a toy
Yeah,
store.
a little
What would be
it comes off a bit racist these days.
The only thing that saves that movie from that exact thing is they do have a real friendship and bond. I mean, if you can get past that one thing, the relationship is very real and
it's funny. I mean, Richard Pryor and Jackie Gleason. I mean, come on, you know.
So anyway, great loss to the two great losses, Robert Downey Sr. and Richard Donner. But another great loss is that of the American public's mentality and taste, and that's where we cover that in the Netflix Metrix with Zach Wiseman. Zach Wiseman.
Oh boy. Okay, so if you don't know what I'm doing for some weird reason, there are 75 million people who watch Netflix every single day in the United States. And one of these new categories that randomly popped up was the top 10 in the US. I was curious why this category showed up, why I got it. Turns out everyone got it. So I decided to do a deep dive and to find out what Americans are watching on Netflix every day. So whatever the most amount of people watched yesterday, that's what I watched today. So here's the garbage that I had to endure on this Wednesday. Number 10 was The Ice Road. We talked about it last week. Not good, very, very bad. Sal will say slightly otherwise. Number 9.
Liam Neeson? Are you kidding? I don't even know if Liam Neeson reads screenplays anymore because he literally just takes any movie now.
Yeah, he just shows up and then grabs a weapon and gets in a vehicle and goes, which is cool.
Yeah.
Number 9, we have Kung Fu Panda, which is a really cool movie from a while ago. If you haven't seen it, it's the animated movie where Jack Black plays a panda who, despite all reasonings, he becomes a Kung Fu master. And it's about the dragon warrior who has to clash against the savage Tai Lung as Chinese fate hangs in the balance. However, the dragon warrior mantle is supposedly mistaken to be bestowed upon a beast panda who's a novice in martial arts. Directed by Mark Osborne, written by Jonathan Albee. Like I said, it stars Jack Black. It's actually got a wonderful voice cast, and it's really well animated. I saw it when it first came out, and I revisited it today. It still holds up. Some of the jokes obviously fall a little bit flat, but the color palette's beautiful. Action scenes are well coordinated. Weird side note that I found out that the animators actually took a 6-hour kung fu class to get a better idea of how the flow of motion should go when animating these people. So it's funny. You know, if you're like Jack Black, it's funny. He's fat. He's a panda. Number 8, you have Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby. So every single person
dare criticize that movie. That's an American classic.
I was drawing the line.
Yeah,
it is a classic. Every single person saw it. Directed by Adam McKay. If you don't know what this is about for whatever reason, the number 1 NASCAR driver Ricky Bobby stays atop the heap thanks to a pact with his best friend and teammate Cal Naughton Jr. But when French Formula One driver makes his way up the ladder, Ricky Bobby's talents stars Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly, Sacha Baron Cohen. Now, the cool thing about this movie is this is the first time we see Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly on screen together. So this was like a really big deal. It is slightly dated because it is Will Ferrell at almost his peak, which is very quick and been obviously recycled by other people that are not as good as Will Ferrell. But honestly, this movie is very funny. And I'm not going to say anything bad about it because I like this show and I want to remain on there.
Choice.
So we're great movie. Check it out.
Baby Jesus.
Number 7, Spider Monkey. Number 7, The Bureau of Magical Things. This is a TV show showed about 6 days ago. It is very badly acted. It is very badly scripted. I think only 9-year-olds can get anything out of this. It stars Kimmy Chukakshin and Elizabeth Cullen. It's about a teenage girl, Kyra, who accidentally discovers an extraordinary world and gains magical powers when she unexpectedly emerges that she must unite fairies, elves, and humans to save them all. Not good. Probably Nickelodeon show. Yeah, really, really bad. Honestly, it could be cool if the acting was at all decent. It ain't. All right, Coco Melon, number 6. This thing hung tight at number 6 spot from last week. So, hey, it's been here for 257 days. That is baffling to me. Number 5, Fear Street. This is a weird 3-part movie series that Netflix bought and is putting out in weekly time chunks, which is an odd thing. It is a full-length feature movie. It's about a circle of teenage friends accidentally encounter an ancient evil responsible for a series of brutal murders that have plagued their town for over 300 years. Welcome to Shady Side. Directed and written by Lee Janak, but it's actually based on a series of books by R.L. Stine. You know, everyone knows R.L. Stine. Now, the weird thing is that Part 2 of this movie, this one's set in 1994. Part 2 of this movie, which comes out July 9th, is set in 1978. And Part 3, which is set in 1666, will come out July 16th. So I'm not really sure why they're doing it like this. But the weird thing is because this is set in 1994 and nostalgia is the coolest thing, you have a bunch of people that look like they're from the 90s, but talk like they're from right now. And it is
too.
Yeah. It is weird how they're so focused on nostalgia that in the first 20 minutes of this movie, you get 8 songs that are from the 90s. The weird thing is that 2 of the songs that stuck out to me, even though this is set in 1994, 2 of the songs were from 1996. So it's very weird that they don't really care that much. It's just they're really tweaking on people's things. It is really about the playlist. And once I started watching it, I'm like, whoa, what is this? But it's literally because of the songs. It is written by people who obviously write shows today, a lot of Gen Z's jokes, but it just looks like they're trying to dress like the 90s. Very weird. I hope the next one's better, but who knows? Number 4.
Wait, honestly, at this point in time, I consider myself very fortunate that myself and my group of friends hasn't stumbled upon an ancient evil or supernatural force accidentally. Like, really, it's just enough. How many times can they do that?
Speak for yourself, Howard.
Yeah, well, Jeff's the only one that hasn't got one yet. So
did you find that movie was completely overscored? Like literally every time something happened, there was dramatic music, like anything.
Yeah,
it was so overdone.
Yeah, it was really weird how everything about that movie was put together, and I was really upset about all of it. The sound effects was bad. The sound editing was bad. Acting was awful. It's like they just dressed 90s style, and they told you they were the 90s, and you hear 90s songs, so you're like, I guess it's the 90s.
One actress I liked, I won't even say who she is because I don't want to give it away, they killed off like immediately.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're talking about,
So the question then begs, why is this the number 6, or was it number 5? Show in America right now on Netflix. If this movie sucks,
because people love crap.
Well, people like new things, and then they like Coco Melon. So this came out 4 days ago. It is a new horror. Everyone's into horror. People love the idea of nostalgia. So if something's set in the 90s, people eat it up and they're crazy about it. So this is just a bad version of it. Watch Stranger Things season 1 if you want a better idea of this. But hopefully the next 2, or at least the next one's good. So who knows? But come in number 4, you have Mother's Day. Now this piece of trash is about 3 generations that come together in a week leading up to Mother's Day. Directed by Gary Marshall. You know him obviously from Overboard, Beaches, and Pretty Woman. Those are movies that he directed. He also is a great actor in a lot of other movies. This is the last movie that he directed, which is an odd send-off because the guy has such a cool portfolio. But either way, written by Anya Kochev, Matthew Walker, and Tom Hines, who wrote the screenplay. Stars Jennifer Aniston, Kate Hudson, and Julia Roberts. So it's an all-star cast. The problem is that you can tell that they only paid for these actors for like 3 to 4 days at a time. So there's not a lot of cohesion in all these stories. So it's a lot of it. You're following the lives of different mothers on Mother's Day. One is like happily divorced and is, wants to find out what's up with her ex-husband. One is having an unexpected surprise from their mother. It's just all this weird stuff. It's just disappointing. It doesn't feel real. It's a lot of these super privileged, high level women. I'm glad that there is a movie about mothers. I'm very happy that exists. So I wasn't upset about this thing. It just wasn't well done. So that's unfortunate.
Give me the horror movie version of Mother's Day.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like
a bunch of mothers stumble on ancient evil.
Come to the holiday.
There is a horror movie named Mother's Day from the 80s.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's a trauma movie. It's really bad. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, classic
I
slasher.
think what happened was there, Zach, towards the end of his career, that became a genre in itself. Mother's Day was the last one. So the first one was Valentine's Day, then New Year's Eve,
Oh,
and then Mother's Day. So it was that concept of a film where it was the same kind of mishmash, 14 different stories going on. Each one has 3 famous people in it. You know,
are they all Gary Marshall movies?
Yeah, he didn't write. He wrote Mother's Day, but he directed all 3.
Oh wow, because I know Valentine's Day is absolute garbage. So this one is better. Mother's Day is
wasn't there New
I
Year's
actually thought
Eve
you were joking,
too?
Jeff.
Yeah, there's no. It's Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, and Mother's Day. That was those 3.
How about Arbor Day? No?
Well, I'm sure had he lived, who knows?
Respect it deserves.
Had he lived, who knows where it would have gone?
Now, the rest of the list is actually pretty boring. Number 3 is Too Hot to Handle, which came in number 7 last week. We already talked about it. It is absolute garbage. So consumable, but real hot garbage. Number 2 is Sex Life, which is more garbage, which was number 3 last week. And number 1, again, is Manifest, which is that weird thing where the plane disappears. I have never seen 2 weeks where a number 1 show comes in number 1 2 weeks in a row outside of Sweet Tooth and Army of the Dead, but that's like a big blockbuster thing. So it's odd that there is such boring stuff on Netflix right now that people are watching that thing a lot. But yeah, so that's what's on Netflix in the US today. And that's what I got.
I read an article today that said that Manifest could end up being the most watched show on Netflix ever when it's all said and done.
And they won't pick it up.
Right.
Zach, great job on the Netflix.
Nice job.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right, let's dive into some fascinating show.
Now Sal's on the move, and he looks like Requiem for a Dream. Like it's just
just green back tones.
He's just smiling. He's just
smiling.
Like
a floating head. It's what it looks like to me.
Sal.
Let's go on.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Do you have a light switch anywhere?
All right, let's go. Let's jump right into this show. Just ended its run. I have heard good things about it. Ron, tell us all about Kim's Convenience.
Yeah, appreciate it, Jeff. Has anybody seen it? Has anybody checked it out?
I have not.
So this is yet another Netflix show the algorithm sent my way while I was on vacation. What should I watch? I went into the search function, and this was right up on the front page. So my wife and I checked it out. So right off the bat, I'll just say this. It's, yet again, I love the international vibe of it. This is a Canadian program actually produced by CBC and ended up getting purchased by a couple of companies before it ended up on Netflix 5 years ago. So we are, as Jeff said, through season 5. They did complete the series. I love 20-minute episodes. I don't know about you guys, but I freaking love comedy shows that are 20 minutes. And I've been watching a number of reviews of this show, and I want to talk for a moment about some of the controversy with respect to this show. But I'll just say this. When you have sitcoms, typically they're either more sit or more calm, right? And in this particular case, I do think it's fair to say that some of the criticism has been it's been more sit than it is actual calm. I get the sense, and just to be fair, I've only watched 1 season now, so I've not watched the full 5 seasons. But I do get the sense that much of what they're trying to go after here is kind of like the Big Fat Greek Wedding style. This is what this genre of this ethnic group deals with every single day, and they capitalize on that with some very good acting, particularly from the 2 stars who are Paul Sun-Young Lee, who stars as the father figure, Appa, and Jin Yoon, who stars as Amma, the mother figure. These were the actual actors in the play of Kim's Convenience, which was then translated into, transitioned into a full-fledged television series. What's super interesting about this show, and I'm just going to talk about it from a controversy standpoint, is it has gotten flack about the fact that almost the entire production crew was of non-Asian persuasion. It was written, directed, and produced almost entirely by white people. And then further into the run, which, as I said, I haven't gotten there yet, but particularly within season 5, the season that just ended, there were some tropes that were talked about in the show that sent one of the secondary characters, a gentleman named Simi Liu, going to the press basically saying, I'm not going to be part of this anymore. I'm not interested in advancing tropes about Korean Americans or Korean Canadians in this case. And it was pretty much at the end of its run. And I think people were ready to get out of this thing anyway. There was talks about people not getting paid enough. They weren't being paid to scale. There was a lot of, I think, irritation among the production crew with the acting crew. So I think this had run its natural course and it was ready to dissolve kind of when it reached its apex of criticism, I think. But up until then, and particularly with the season I watched, which is the opening season, season 1, I will just tell you this. I find the show to be charming. And I find the show to be fresh and interesting. And I think the two main characters have amazing chemistry together and are able to banter off each other with folks that just come in and out of this convenience store and try to kind of navigate what it's like and the intricacies of being Korean in Canada. And for that, I give it a lot of credit. And I think it is careful in the first season. And I think it is funny, although I do understand the criticism that it's more situation than comedy. This is not a fall off your chair, utter hilarious kind of show. It is a thinking man and woman's show. But I think the power of the acting and the power of the storytelling is excellent, carries it through. And like I said, 20-minute episodes, you can't beat that. So you can charge through this thing. It's 13 episodes per season, 5 seasons. You can get this through this thing in a weekend for sure. And I will tell you, I'm not giving it 5 tomato jars, Sal, but I'm going to give it 3.5 tomato jars. And I would just say this: I give it credit for its for the interesting nature of how the actors play off each other, and I think it's brave. And for that, I appreciate it. And so because of that, I'm going to recommend it to you guys. Kim's Convenience on Netflix, and go take a look. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, I found this show through several nerd channels vicariously. One, obviously, Simu Liu, he is the guy who just got cast as Shang-Chi, so he's going to be the next big Marvel MCU guy. But also, Paul Lee is, I knew about him before his acting career because he's a prolific cosplayer. He did so much Star Wars cosplaying that Star Wars found out about it, and now they cast him in The Mandalorian as an X-Wing pilot. So he was in the last season of The Mandalorian because of how much he goes into his cosplaying for different things. So and that's what led me to that show. And I only watched season 1, and I agree, it is a clever little sitcom, very consumable and fine. I haven't watched past season 1, but yeah, I agree with everything you just said.
He's terrific, and
Yep.
I do as I said, I love the play between him and the wife Jean Yoon, who plays Alma. It's that alone I think is worth price of admission. So yeah, none of you guys have even.
I've heard of it. I just heard of it of recent, but I've never seen
Meaning
it.
to check it out.
I'll check it out if it's 20 minutes. I'll just.
I mean, how can you beat that? I'm into this now 20-minute thing now for comedy shows. So there it is.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great job,
Enjoy,
Ron
guys.
Lippett.
Appreciate you.
Guess
Jeff
who's up
Blessing.
next? Cal's up next. We got we're gonna go
Cal B.
there you go. In treatment.
Okay.
In
So,
treatment.
if no one has anyone seen the old In Treatment, because this is a newer version of it with a different therapist.
I saw the old one, yeah.
Yeah, the old
old
one
one, yeah.
had Gabriel Byrne as the therapist,
Mhm.
but he has now been replaced with I gotta say this right, Uzo Aduba. She's from Orange is the New Black. She played Suzanne, aka Crazy Eyes.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
So talented.
Yeah, amazing actress. As a matter of fact, at first I was a little hesitant because I was a big fan of the original series and I didn't like the fact that he was being replaced. But she is, in fact, a really good replacement. She's an amazing actress. She plays the role well. Also, she has the perfect voice to be a therapist. She has like a very soothing kind of voice. And she does work as the therapist. But I will say that this version of the show does have some flaws, though, too, where her character isn't as interesting as Gabriel Byrne's was, but I will say I do think she's actually a better actress than he was an actor. The one thing I'll say about Gabriel Byrne, as much as I love him and he's a great actor, is he plays Gabriel Byrne in everything. He's just Gabriel Byrne. I mean, he's one of those guys. He has an Irish accent and he can't ever turn it off no matter what. Like, he just sounds like he came directly from a pub in Dublin, you know, to be on the show. But yeah, he's not very versatile. She's more versatile. I mean, to go from playing a complete mental case on Orange is the New Black to playing a therapist, that's pretty awesome. To go from that extreme to the next. But like I said, the show does have flaws where the guy who plays her boyfriend is completely miscast. They have his name's Joel Kinnaman, and he's played like he was in what is it? He was Rick Flag in Suicide Squad. He's like this alpha male, like, you know, good looking tall guy. And I'm sorry, but I don't see them together. It's a complete mismatch. This is going to sound totally weird, but I'm basically saying, like, hey, he's completely out of her league. That's what I'm saying. So that doesn't quite work. The acting though on the show from all the actors are awesome. There's a character named Colin. He's like this narcissist corporate criminal that she sees, and he's fantastic, very hateable, but you can't stop watching the guy. He's just, you know, fascinating. There's another character named Layla. She's a black lesbian, but also raised, you know, a rich one. And it's weird. You don't sympathize with her as much because she's just also kind of a rich bitch, you know. But all the characters are very interesting. But like I said, the show does have flaws, like the casting of the boyfriend, the actual therapist herself. There's one episode of the show per week where she sees her drug counselor, because she used to be a druggie and alcoholic. And you would think that would be the most interesting episode per week, but it's actually the most least interesting. Like, it's not as good as the actual patients are. And there's also this plot about her trying to find her long lost kid, and they just don't really go into it enough. Like and also the show ended. So the show, like, I don't even know if the show is over yet, because according to IMDb, the show is still going, but the show stopped on HBO like a couple weeks ago. I don't know if they're taking a few weeks off or the show is over, because the way the show ended, it ended in a way where, like, you were still waiting for something else to happen. So that's, if the show is over, then it didn't quite, you know, it was kind of incomplete. I'll say that.
I feel like with COVID, nobody knows what any show is over.
Yeah, I mean, they have actually even worked the COVID angle into it, where one of the characters, Eladio, and that's actually the best character in the show. He sees her, you know, through online, and also when the patients come into her office, the ones that do come in, they're like, I've been vaccinated. You know, they definitely do incorporate a COVID aspect into it.
Interesting.
Ron, good show, great acting, but it does have its flaws, and it's not as good as the original series, except for the fact that I actually do think she is actually a better actor than or actress than Gabriel Byrne is.
Ron, you said you've seen In Treatment?
I have not seen In Treatment, but I'll just say, Cal, that I have never thought Gabriel Byrne, even in some of the movies that he's considered in his best form, Usual Suspect, he's not that great. He's not, but he's not a great actor.
It's like this presence about him that, I don't know, makes him kind of likable.
Yeah,
I agree. I totally agree. It's not that he's not a good actor, but he's just, like I said, he's Gabriel Byrne in every movie. It's just like Christopher Walken. Walken is just Christopher Walken in every movie.
How dare you, sir?
I love Christopher Walken, though.
I'm kidding.
And I want Christopher Walken as Christopher Walken in every movie. But he is Christopher Walken in every movie.
He's the best.
Well,
Yeah.
Ron, this show's based on an Israeli show from 2005 called Beatable. And if you like, I thought you said you see the first season. If you like this, the Israeli version is very, very good. And I would suggest someone like you who likes, obviously foreign stuff, to check it out. But whatever.
I maybe I will. You know what he was good in? Excalibur from 1981. That's what he was good
Gabriel Byrne?
Yes.
40 years ago, he hit his peak. And
I
we have
thought
to do a quick just so that because there's captions. Apologies to
I
the
have an
Christopher
issue with
Walken
actors
family.
that can't erase their accent. Like
Yes.
you should be able to do that.
Cal, did you see Hereditary? Which
I love
Zach and I have talked
Hereditary.
about.
Yeah,
Hereditary is a fantastic movie. He is the worst part of that movie.
I'm not. You know what? You're not wrong. But Toni Collette is so good that you kind of forget that.
So good. You're right.
Yeah,
right.
You're right.
Toni Collette is probably the most underrated actress out there, in my opinion.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with that.
I actually thought in the original show, I thought some of the best episodes were actually the episodes where Gabriel Byrne was seeing his therapist.
Yes,
who was what's her name from Parenthood?
Diane Wiest. Yeah.
Diane
Well, so they tried to do that with this too, but it doesn't come off as interesting because it's not even her therapist; it's her drug counselor.
You know, it would be interesting if his therapist was Christopher Walken.
Oh, by the way, they have this. That would be amazing. They have this tie-in where you find out that Gabriel Byrne was her teacher. He was the therapist that taught her to be a therapist. But he never shows up. You keep waiting for him. Like there's an episode where they imply that he's going to meet up with her, and then he pulls a no-show. And I'm like, oh, so basically they just couldn't fucking afford Gabriel Byrne is what happened, So they tried to set it up like he was going to be there, and he never shows up. I don't know. I don't even know why they bothered to do that. Don't even have him involved with it,
That is a mystery we'll have to leave unsolved as we move on to Good on Paper from the mind of Eliza Schlesinger. Sal, click away.
So, this was on Netflix. Not Netflix. It just came out, and I don't want to ruin it, but basically, she's a stand-up comedian, very, very funny stand-up comic. And it's not really about her life, really. It's a romantic comedy that she wrote. This was kind of interesting. I watched this after, but it was originally based off of Comedy Central did a show called "This Is Not Happening to Me," and it's just stand-up comedians that tell crazy stories. Check that out if you haven't checked that out, and check out Artie Lang does a really, really good one on there. But anyway, Eliza did one as well, and she told this story about how she went on an audition and met this guy on the plane and just had a crazy relationship with him. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But that's kind of what the movie is based off of. So it's kind of her career stand-up, but it's not really about how she started, how you would think that might be it. But very well done. Margaret Cho is in it. Ryan Hansen plays her boyfriend. It was directed by Kimmy Gatewood and obviously written by Eliza Schlesinger. And I don't know if anybody out there's ever seen her stand-up. She's very funny. Does a lot of dating kind of material. So this movie kind of bases off of that really, really well. What I really did like about it is they didn't throw a lot of her stand-up in it. There's some scenes where where she does her stand-up, but it's not like a long time. And I think she really did a nice job in like not.
I agree. I think Sal brings up a good point. You didn't freeze anything. What? Nothing.
Oh, okay. No,
you froze for a second.
So anyway, that part of it I liked. The story moved along. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to. It just came out, so I don't want to talk too much about it. But kind of a really cool romantic movie. A lot of jokes in there between him and her that were very, very just funny lines that I think she probably did in her stand-up, but she didn't do it in stand-up format during the movie, which I thought was really good. It moved pretty good. It was just a good movie. I mean, stand-up comedians trying to do a movie sometimes doesn't work out too well, or if you try to do a movie about stand-up, that's very, very hard to do sometimes as well. And I thought she did a really nice job with it. I thought it was very good, and like I said, it just came out on Netflix. It's about an hour and I don't know, 40 minutes long. And like I said, Margaret Cho does a really good job. Man, she like looks, better today than she did 20 years ago. I mean, she's just like, I don't know if
I'm glad to hear that, Sal.
she really does. I mean, she's really, I know she's lost weight. There might be some plastic surgery or something because her face looks a little, I mean, I'm just saying, it just looks like she might have had some work done, but I mean, her physical appearance and her just youthfulness was really, really amazing. She's keeping herself up.
Asian
very,
people
very
do
funny.
age well. I mean, I'm not trying to say they age well. That's a compliment. That's not racist.
Yeah. No, you're
if
right.
you have to say it's not racist, usually.
It's a compliment.
Listen,
It's a compliment. They do age very
I'll
well.
say this about
I think the rabbit hole that before you went in that direction was just talking about women that way in general, as if that's an expectation of men that they have to look better 30 years later. So
correct. No,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You know what, Sal? I'll just say that Margaret
Let them
Cho.
be who they
I actually have a lot of respect for Margaret Cho because she's taken a ton of risks in her professional career with all her advocacies, particularly of the LGBTQ, world out there, and she's just put it all out there and risked everything, uncaring about what it meant for her career. And anyone who's willing to do that, I respect.
I totally agree with you. She's a great stand-up comedian, but anyway, she's really good in this. She's very good in this. It was a fun movie. Like I said, I highly recommend it. Hopefully, it'll be in Zach's top 10 next week. I think it will. It just came out, and anyway, I highly recommend it. I give it 4 tomato sauce jars, man.
4 tomatoes.
I'm actually looking forward to this one. I definitely want to check this one out.
Yeah, Cal, you'll really like it.
4 tomatoes is nothing to sneeze at.
I think the best stand-up movie I saw recently was one called The Opening Act. I don't know if you saw that one, because it was about being an MC for a week at a comedy club, and I related to it so much because it just went through all the ups and downs that you deal with, and it just takes place over like Thursday through Sunday at an improv or something. Yeah. No, it's great.
Comedy, the best comedy film I've seen recently is Gabriel Byrne and Miller's Crossing.
Wow. I met Margaret Cho once in Atlanta. I got a picture with her. I did meet Eliza Schlesinger once backstage. She was featuring for J. Chris Newberg at the Comedy Castle. Wow. She actually came from LA to here. This is before she became winner of Last Comic Standing.
Sure.
And I met her for half a second. Like, hi. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say, nothing. I wish she wasn't famous yet, so I didn't have a picture. I didn't think to take a picture. I don't take a picture with everyone I meet because that gets weird.
No, Polaroid with you?
Yeah, I should just take a picture. I did that once. I only did that once. We're at a party and someone says, we're in Ann Arbor at a party, and someone says, that guy is running for governor. So I walk up to him and said, hi, can I take a picture with you? And I hear you're running for governor. He says, sure. Because I figured in a year, I either have a picture to delete or I have a picture with the governor. So I take a picture with the guy. A year later, he wins. And 2 years later, he almost kills everyone in Flint, Michigan. So I can't even use the photo anymore. So,
no, that's unfortunate.
That's unfortunate. Okay, so this is good. Good on paper. I think sounds like we should check that out.
Definitely. Sounds good on paper.
Sounds good on paper. All right. So what do we got next? We got an interesting one that I had not heard of before. Howard's going to take us through Flatbush Misdemeanors on Showtime.
Unlike the shows like Ron mentioned, where something shows up, and it's recommended to you online, or you read an article or something about it. I had no clue what this was. I went on to the Showtime app on Apple TV. I was looking for something else, and I saw this pop up, saw comedy. I'm like, what the hell? So I popped it on. So if you haven't heard of it, it's a show created by 2 stand-up comedians, Kevin Iso and Dan Perlman. It is loosely based on their lives growing up in Flatbush, Queens, in New York, or Brooklyn, in New York. It totally stuck up on me. I watched the first episode. So if you watch this show, it looks and feels like any urban drama on any of the cable channels now. Showtime's had some good ones. Stars has some good ones, and it's got that look and feel of an inner city urban, drama. It's kind of dark and captures really well, intricacies of the street life and street scenes. The music is fantastic. It is one of the funniest shows I have seen in a long time. So the first take of the first episode takes place in the back parking lot of the school that Dan Perlman, his character, teaches at. And you don't know what's going on. It looks like somebody's escaping from the school and the security guard's chasing him. And then his Kevin Iso is Dan Perlman's buddy who's delivering food. The security guard stops to put his pen in the Chinese food or Jamaican food and root around in there, taste it. And you're like, I don't know what the hell's going on. Is it serious? Is it funny? Like I said, it is one of the funniest shows. It hits legit issues too. I mean, it talks a lot about gentrification.
What is it?
There's race relation. So the gist of the show is Dan Perlman is a teacher, and Kevin Iso is one of his best friends from growing up. And he had lived in New Orleans. He's a struggling artist. He invites him to move back to New York to live on his couch to try and make it in the art scene. So it's him with that. And then Dan Perlman's character is a teacher who's struggling, trying to become more involved at the school. Wants to be the head basketball coach. Tries to get involved with that. Is in love with his superior, who's the assistant principal, and it just kind of goes from there. One of the first scenes is Kevin delivering food to essentially a drug dealer. And when he's in this apartment with all these people, he accidentally knocks over a huge bottle of codeine syrup. And they tell him he owes him $3,000. And the character who's the drug dealer is one of the best characters in the show, becomes a recurring character that's involved. It's so subtly and sarcastically funny, but maybe the best scenes are when the two characters are talking to each other about their lives, trying to push, inquiring why each doesn't do or does something with their lives and concern they have for the other. The dialogue is so funny. Like but it's so subtly funny. It's the, oh my God, did he just say that? Rewind. I can't believe he just said that. But they're laugh out loud, hysterical moments that hit you so out of the blue. The characters are incredible. About 5 or 6 episodes in, Dan Perlman's character keeps talking about his therapist. He has a Zoom therapy session with his therapist, who's another great stand-up, Yamanika Saunders, who's been in a bunch of stuff. She is incredible as his therapist. The whole episode is her involved, and it's incredible. It's so funny. I was so happy after like 2 or 3 episodes of watching the show that I'd found it totally unknowing anything about it. And it's just brilliant. I guess it was created. They did a half-hour short film that they might have done on Showtime, and then they picked it up and turned it into a series. But it's so well done. It's really good. I highly recommend this show if you have access to Showtime. It's superb. It's smart. It's funny. It's well shot. The music's great. It's just excellent. I highly recommend this show.
Wow.
I'm excited. Yeah, I never heard of this one before.
Glowing, yeah.
I hadn't heard of it before 2 days ago when I found it.
Howard, how many seasons and how long?
It's in its first season right now. It's a half hour, half-hour-ish show.
Oh, that's what Ron loves that.
I like. Hey, I'm shorter, man. I like 20 minutes, man. I'm good.
Yeah, it is. It
There's
is
a joke in there
just.
somewhere, Jeff.
It's just superb. I love the show, and it touches on serious issues, but in a very, very funny way. Again, the conversation between them is great, and it's just a really smart, funny show.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely
That's
check it out.
So, hey, I know we talk about it all the time, and we were trying to convince Bob last week, but I rewatched all of Ted Lasso, and good. I think I loved it more the second time than I did the first time. And I don't think any of the emotions or any of those beats that happened the first viewing, it hit me exactly the same. The whole time I'm like, it's the only sitcom where you're getting so emotional. You're like,
it's such a well done show, and I can't wait for season 2, which is coming out next month or this month.
This month is later. Well, that's why I wanted to watch it again, because you forget certain things. There's a lot of little nuances of that show. Plus, it was worth watching again because it's so funny, and it's short too. You can go. There's only 10 episodes, and they're only 25 minutes each or something like that. They're pretty short.
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron. And then
I was just gonna say, if I'm doing something, if I'm just eating quick, or doing something for work, and I want something on in the background, just noise, I'll pop it on. I've watched it probably 5 or 6 times. It just keeps going. It's like we were trying to convince Ron's cousin, our good friend Dan. And he was so mad at us because he was critical of the show, and we were giving him such crap that he's like, I don't love it. Why are you guys trying to convince me? Like, stop being a jerk. It's a great show.
It's like
Dan doesn't want to watch it or won't watch it.
And we were like, it's so rare for you to be utterly and completely wrong about everything you're saying.
But I've been that guy where someone tries to. Everyone's like, why don't you like this show? You have to watch this show, and I just can't like it. I try, but sometimes you just don't.
I think that's where
He was the episode where they're at the benefit, and he's like, she's a billionaire and she doesn't know how to be on the red carpet. And I'm like, that's what you're picking up from this show? That's like saying, really, Gandalf is a wizard.
Sounds like he
dies and comes back to like it's a fantasy show. Yeah. It's not real. Relax.
I could never get into Game of Thrones. I just, for some reason, I just could never get into it. And the people will not stop giving me crap about that. So this day,
to be fair,
what's wrong with you?
That is a hard one to get into. It's once you're in it, then it's hard to get out of. That's what Game of Thrones.
And also, I heard that it ended terribly anyway.
That's also true. Yeah. Zach, I was going to tell you that in Netflix Metrix a few weeks back, Luca was in there. And I think it was
the Disney movie.
The Disney movie, and I had a chance to pick that up this weekend. Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's not on Netflix; it's on Disney. But yeah, I did see it.
Oh, that's right. It's Disney Plus. I'm sorry, it wasn't on your Netflix Metrics. Excuse me. Well, listen, I caught it, and maybe someone else will do a review on it. Super impressed with the chances it took. It kind of went into a place that I don't think Disney's ever gone before, and I was appreciative of that.
Yeah, I guess. I found it very boring and very close to something that could have been good. There's a lot of interpretations of it being very good. It's like, well, if you look at it like this, and it probably means this, and it's like, well, they didn't do that. It's just about a kid who wants to maybe be a human sometimes, and he has a friend and he likes motorcycles that go 35 miles an hour. It's fine. It is the weakest Pixar movie, though.
Got it.
Yeah.
Even next to Cars 2? What?
Show I did a review on way back in our first few episodes. We've done so many now that I can't remember what episode it was, but second season of Never Have I Ever.
Is that coming out?
I believe it's out this week. Yeah, it's just a fun show. I hope the second season. I'm just looking forward to John McEnroe's narration again.
I have to believe there's a rush of new shows coming in now with the production coming out of COVID like this.
Atypical's coming back for its last season. I'm excited for that too.
The
And
second
we'll have
half
to
of,
we'll have to
Billions.
recap Loki next week. We'll recap Loki next week because it's I think the final episode next week.
Great episode today, though.
Yeah, today's episode
Yeah.
was the best of all of them.
I'm running to watch it right after this.
Oh, so good.
Oh, so good. So good. Cool. All right. Hey, Zach. First, I do want to say if you love the show, which I know you do, one is definitely subscribe on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search The Jeff Dwoskin Show, subscribe, or on Facebook, facebook.com/JeffIsFunny. Hit the subscribe. If you like what you're seeing here, I have a podcast called Live from Detroit, The Jeff Dwoskin Show. I subtly plugged it earlier. Sal has a podcast with his better half, Bob, who's not here today, The Sal and Bob Show. And Zach has 15 podcasts, all amazing. And they're the whole but go search on Some Nobodies. And Zach, if you want to be more specific for a second, you can. But he's got tons of podcasts that he does. So check that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Say goodnight, Zach, and you can list a podcast if you want.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Some Nobodies is everything that I do. We just made a Create Your Own Adventure podcast called Create Your Own Podventure, where you can listen to episode 1 and then choose which one you want to listen to after that, depending on how you think the story should go. We also do Silicon Angels, which is the IT phone calls of a sex robot shop. We do a whole bunch of weird stuff, which you can find all at somenobodies.com, which is me, my show. So that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Howard, say goodnight.
Good night.
Thank you, Howard. Sal's on mute because he was Sal, say goodnight.
Hey, go to saldemiller.com. Good to see everybody. Good to see you, Cal.
Good to see you too, man.
Hey, good to see you too, Sal. Thanks. We on behalf of the rest of us. The Cal, say goodnight.
Good night.
All right. Ron, say goodnight.
Good night, everybody.
Ron was this close to bumping into the president in Traverse City, Michigan at
Almost
Moomers, but he
came
wasn't
close.
there. He wasn't there. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Jeff Dwoskin. We're here every Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, crossing the streams. Check out my podcast, live from Detroit, The Jeff Dwoskin Show. It's amazing. It's award-winning. We've all won some kind of awards. We're all fabulous here. We really are. And what else we got? I think that's it. And we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Crossing the Streams, brought to you by scenesnobs.com and part of the Jeff Dwoskin Show. Your hosts, of course, Jeff Dwoskin, Sal D'Amelio, Bob Phillips, Ron Lippett, and Howard Rosner. Follow us all on the socials, and we'll see you next week and every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Mark your calendars. We're going live and crossing more streams.